Hello and welcome to week 2 of supporting young people's health and well-being. This week's session focuses on how our minds can play tricks on us and how a little self-compassion can help us look after our well-being. As the world has developed, we have so many experiences and information we have to retain. However, our brain's makeup hasn't changed. Are we built to cope with all the stresses we now endure? With the way society is changing, and so constantly, it's no wonder we develop these unhelpful thinking styles, as discussed last week. Especially now, when we have so much at our fingertips, such as social media, it's hard not to compare or contrast and think we aren't doing enough. This is why it is so important to be kind to ourselves and understanding. We are just doing our best. When humans were developing, we had an alarm system in our brain that warned us about things that might hurt us, like if a tiger was around, if there was a fire, or if someone was coming to hurt us. It would release chemicals in our brain that made us very focused on the problem so we could solve it, and made our hearts beat faster and our breathing shallow to prepare us to run away. You might also feel like you need to go to the toilet, another way your body is preparing for a long run away from something scary, or that you get pins and needles, blood rushing to your legs and arms for the same reason. It might make you have a panic attack or feel like you're going crazy, but you're not. Almost everything you feel when you're scared was designed to protect you tens of thousands of years ago, but mostly just gets in the way now. The problem today is that when we worry, there is no longer a tiger, but our brains release these same chemicals that would have kept our ancestors safe. It's important to remember that all the feelings that anxiety brings to your body, your heart beating fast, not being able to think of anything else, feeling like you're not breathing properly, as well as lots of other reactions, are completely normal. It can take some work to learn that when you feel those things, you don't need to believe that it means danger. A lot of dealing with worry and anxiety is really just practicing that thought. My body is feeling something very old that kept my ancestors safe. Here is another example of how our minds can play tricks on us. Read this sentence, then work out how many F's there are. The answer will be revealed on the next slide. As explained, the human brain is capable of incredible things, but our minds often play tricks on us that warp our perception of reality. So the meaning of perception is the way of regarding, understanding, or interpreting the world around us. Perception is not reality, how things actually are. Let's think of perception as a camera lens through which we view actual reality. Our perception influences our focus, what we remember, how we interpret, understand, and act on reality. In doing so, our tendency is to assume that how we perceive reality is an accurate representation of what reality truly is. But it's not. This short video goes into detail about the critical inner voice. Please click the link below to view it. It can be very easy to be critical of ourselves. Statements such as, "They must hate me," "I'm ugly," and "I'll never get better" are just a few examples of what our inner critic can tell us. As society has changed and time progresses, we find that we get more and more critical about ourselves, especially with the use of social media. For example, they're always posting that they get everything done in one day and more, and I don't even get half of what I want to do done in one day. I must not be good enough. So what is self-compassion, and what does it mean to you? Think about how you would speak to yourself versus how you speak to your friends and family, and why you would talk to yourself differently than you would to those around you. So what do you do to be compassionate to yourself? So let's think about benefits of self-compassion and barriers to self-compassion. What comes up for you? Benefits may include feeling less stressed and anxious, but barriers could include feelings of guilt. There are many types of self-care, which include physical, emotional, social, and spiritual. Types of physical self-care include exercise, such as stretching, walking, physical release, and yoga. Sleep. So are we getting enough sleep? And how good is the sleep we are getting? Healthy food. So how does the food we eat impact on how we are feeling, and also making sure we get some rest incorporated into our day? Emotional self-care looks at stress management. So how are we managing our stress levels and what we put in place to help support this further? Emotional maturity. Are we able to manage our emotions no matter what we are faced with? Forgiveness, compassion and kindness are also part of emotional self-care. So how are we speaking to ourselves? Think back to last week within helpful thinking styles, but also earlier in our session when we spoke about how we would speak to a friend. Boundaries are part of social self-care. So are we taking on too much and able to say no when we want to? Looking at support systems that are around us, this could be friends, family, or even groups that we have an interest in. Another part of social self-care is positive social media. Are we scrolling endlessly and looking at negative media? If so, what can we do to change this? You may have a page that you love looking at which lifts your mood. Spending time together is also important for self-care. What could you all do together? Asking for help is also key and something a lot of us avoid for various different reasons, but is important for our well-being. Spiritual self-care includes having some time alone, even if this is just 5 or 10 minutes at the start or end of the day. It is a good start to help build on this self-care. We understand that our days are busy, but so important for us to find this little bit of time for ourselves. Meditation and yoga are also great ways to form self-care, along with connecting to nature. Journaling and having a sacred space may also be something that you find beneficial, and this can help with building on the self-care and compassion. These are just a few examples. Which ones do you feel you could have a go at? Are there any you already do? Thank you for attending today's session. We would like you to have a go at some takeaway activities by being aware of self-compassion and identifying 3 things for this for both you and your child or children. What are you going to do for yourself this week, and how often are you going to try and do this? Next week, we are looking at physical sensations and behaviours associated with anxiety and helpful strategies to reduce these. If you have any questions, please email us on familylearningteam@north-ayrshire.gov.uk.